Alright, guys. We're here in the dining room here for not just a review of, or a year-end review of the Glock 22, but also a history and a little bit of background on the 40 Smith & Wesson. Now, let's get into the history of the caliber before we get into why I like the Gen 3 over the Gen 4 and all that good stuff. Now, this right here is a Hornady critical defense. You could see by the red nose in here that it is a rapid expanding jacketed hollow point. The rapid expanse, or just hollow points in general, are covered under Oregon's self-defense law because A, it's designed to just stop in the target you are, well, aiming your weapon at. Full metal jacket rounds are not covered because they can cause collateral damage. Collateral damage means A, it can go through the person you're intending to shoot, causing damage to other parts of your house, car, even go through walls and hit family members on the other side. These right here are made to penetrate and stop within a certain distance. Usually max is about 11 3/4 inch. Now you may be saying, Trenton, but the human body, well, the human body, if this makes it through, which it rarely does, it will slow it down to the point where it will just leave a mild dent in your wall. The 40 Smith & Wesson, well, the background history is they decided to do some military testing and law enforcement testing after the 1986 FBI shootout, which left 2 members of the FBI dead. They tested it in various, platforms, semi-auto pistols, revolvers, and generally came to the consensus that the semi-auto was the best platform because it could handle the pressures. The 40 Smith & Wesson debuted to the civilian market in 1990, so this is actually only a 26-year-old round. Relatively new in the, newcomers of even just semi-auto pistols. The 40 Smith & Wesson honestly came about and got military use and law enforcement use because the 10mm round, which is quite a bit larger and quite a bit snappier, was harder to manage for female law enforcement and smaller frame law enforcement who couldn't handle recoil and or didn't practice enough with it. So, enough of the Smith & Wesson. If you have any other further questions, please leave them in the comments box. I will get to them on that. Now let's get to the year-end review of, well, my baby, the 3rd Gen Glock 22. Glock in general, bulletproof, great customer service, and they're endorsed by Arlie Army, which is one of my favorite Hollywood personalities and just all-around guy I tend to emulate when I'm out in videos. Now, they are made in Austria, and their distributing hub for the whole of the United States is in Smyrna, Georgia. Now, to take the pistol apart, what you would do is first pull it back to about, 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch. Pull the locking levers down on the side here. Release. At this point, drop your mag, which I don't have one in. Pull the trigger and separate the upper and lower receiver. And then to take the barrel out, you'll take your recoil spring, and then your barrel slides right out. The reason I love Glock so much is because Their barrels are not overly expensive. You could buy aftermarket barrels for about $80 to $100. The threaded one's about $110. Now, why would you need a threaded barrel? Competition muzzle brakes, suppressors, barrel extensions. I've seen them built. I don't really know the whole science behind those. But Glock. Back in the day, there was issues with frame cracking because of, well, polymer was new back when Glock came out. And people liked, the 1911s, the classics. This gun quickly gained fame in competition and law enforcement. A, because, well, they're bulletproof. B, ammo cap. This one holds 15 plus 1. The 1911 is 7 plus 1. You can get this one all the way up to, I believe, 357 SIG, 10 mil, and, well, 9 millimeter. And if you could hear in the background, I was too lazy to turn the TV off, but back to my year-end review of my Glock and Glock in general. I've taken this thing out numerous times. It's been in videos, range days, I think it's 1 and 2. Range days 3, I think, yeah, it had my 38 special. Range day 4 will have a more in-depth review of the Taurus 740, which for bang for your buck, which is what this channel is, 2 thumbs up. That gun, for how small it is, the recoil's manageable, and yes, it fires the 40. Let's get back off on that tangent. I will do a separate video on that later. I can go on for days of why I prefer that over, say, the 42 that my buddy, who unfortunately passed away, Mr. Reed Joker Hankwitz, owns. I'm going to see if I can get that from his dad and get it to a range days review. Now, putting this gun back together is simple as this. 1, 2, 3. Check for trigger set. That's your 4th and final step. Now, I don't know if you can see this, and I'm going to try to get out of the frame so I'm not aiming this thing directly at me. But your sights. You have your classic Glock rear U-shaped and front point sight. There are aftermarkets from Trigicon which give you night or glow sights. But why I like the Gen 3 over the Gen 4, the Gen 4, the stippling's a little too aggressive. What I mean by stippling is, if you can see the pattern on the side here, and in the back, the serrations for your grip. The adjustable back straps, yes, it's nice. The more ambidextrous magazine release, more ambidextrous magazine release, which, I mean, I'm a left-handed shooter. I could easily drop it just by bringing my middle finger up and clicking the button. Most people, they'll use it with their thumb and just go like that. It just took some extra practice for me to get to the middle finger stage and keeping my aim while doing so. The Gen 3, in my opinion, also has a better barrel. And honestly, it's not as hard to take apart because there's not that little, locking lug in there that you have to force or, fuck around with. This gun may not be the best looking. It may not win beauty pageants, like a 1911 would. But the Glock, $500 for a Gen 3, you can't go wrong with that. Now you may be saying, Trenton, that's a little too much. But what you get is the peace of mind knowing that if anything breaks on your Glock, you can send it back just for the cost of shipping, and they will replace the parts for free for life. Ladies and gentlemen, this is my year-end tabletop review of the Glock 22 and Glock in general. This has been Trenton saying, keep shooting. Keep your budget going. And I'll see you next year. Later, y'all. This has been Trenton with BSB TV saying, you may not want to purchase a Glock. You may not want them because they're ugly. In your own opinion, I find this gun actually quite attractive to my personal tastes. But just keep this in mind. It is a bulletproof gun. Later, y'all.